The sun hadn't even risen when I heard the sound, soft tearing, like paper in the wind. I opened my eyes and turned to the corner of our mud wardroom, where my mother sat on a low stool by the lantern's dying flame. Her back was bent, shoulders trembling slightly, as she tore her last wrapper into two. Not one of her last wrappers. Her only wrapper. A faded blue Ankara cloth with tiny yellow flowers. She wore it to church. To weddings. To market. And now, she was cutting it in half. Half to wear as a skirt. Half to sell. Why, Mama? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. She didn't look at me. She kept folding the half she'd sell into a black nylon bag. So you can write your SSC, she said, finally turning. Her eyes were red, but dry. 2,000 naira is better than watching your future rot. The next day, I sat for my exam. On an empty stomach. In torn slippers. With a single biro. But I wrote like my life depended on it. Because it did. Pause, subscribe, like and comment what you think would happen next. Our village was small, one of those places you won't find on a map unless you zoom in twice. No tarred roads. Just brown, red dust that filled your nose and throat when the wind blew. No hospital, just a medicine woman with a plastic chair and faded certificates. We lived in a one-room mud house with a zinc roof that groaned when it rained and roasted us when it didn't. The windows had no glass, only shutters. Our bathroom was a tiny bamboo enclosure behind the house. And our toilet. A pit in the bush. But my mother. She was royalty in her own right. She walked with dignity, even in cracked slippers. She tied her scarf tight. She scrubbed our compound every morning until the sun gleamed like gold. She never complained. Never begged. She just worked. Roasting corn. Selling firewood. Washing clothes for people richer than her. All to send me to school. And each day, she'd say, one day, the world will call you engineer. And I will smile. When my SSC results came out, I passed all my papers with distinctions. Mathematics, physics, chemistry, Ace. My mother didn't scream. She didn't jump. She just held me tightly for what felt like a full minute, then said, it has started. I wanted to celebrate. I wanted to eat rice, not Gary with salt. But we had no money for rice. No Maggi. Just pepper water and dry crayfish. Still, that night, I ate like a king. Because success had entered our house. That same night, my mother took out an old jotter and began writing names. The names of people who might be willing to lend her money for my JAMB and university application. Some of those names were crossed out before she even left the house. They won't help. But I still ask. My JAMB center was 8 kilometers away. I had no transport fare. So I walked. The morning was cold. I left before sunrise, heart pounding. My trousers were too short, my shirt second-hand. But I walked like a soldier. I got there sweating, exhausted, and hungry. Still, I sat in front of the computer like I trained for war. I clicked. I typed. I prayed with every answer. 3 weeks later, the results came out. 302. I screamed. My mother screamed louder. She danced outside with bare feet, waving my result printout like a victory flag. We didn't have money for cake. But that night, we shared 2 pieces of roasted yam and laughed until we cried. I gained admission into the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, to study mechanical engineering. The letter came printed on thick paper with green borders. I framed it. My mother touched it like it was gold. But our joy was short-lived. Acceptance fee, 30,000 Nigerian nairas. Accommodation, 15,000 Nigerian nairas. Books, feeding, transport, over 70,000 Nigerian nairas. It might as well have been 10 million Nigerian nairas. My mother sat in silence for hours. She didn't eat that evening. I saw her fingers tighten around the corner of her scarf, like she was holding onto something invisible. Then she stood, tied her wrapper firmly, and left the house. For 3 weeks, she moved house to house. She borrowed 5,000 Nigerian nairas here, 2,000 Nigerian nairas there. Some people insulted her. Some turned her away without even letting her sit. But she didn't stop. In the end, she returned with 52,000 Nigerian nairas and swollen feet. She gave it to me with a smile. It's not everything. But it's enough for you to go. I arrived at university with a single Gonna Must Go bag. Inside were 2 trousers, 3 shirts, 1 pair of bathroom slippers, a Bible, my mother's prayer. I had no mattress, so I folded her wrapper on the cold cement floor and slept on it. My hostel mates laughed at me, called me village boy. But I didn't care. I was here to change my life. Every day, I woke before dawn, read my textbooks, and attended every lecture. I couldn't afford to fail. I knew my mother was probably missing meals just to keep my phone line recharged. One day, I called her and asked, "Have you eaten?" She paused. "I'm drinking pap." That was her way of saying no. I'll never forget the night I ate rice with sand. A girl in my class had offered me some food from her room. I was so hungry I didn't care that it was already cold. I took the spoon, started eating, then bit into something hard. Sand. She looked embarrassed. "Sorry, I didn't wash the rice well." I smiled. "It's okay. It's sweet." Because it was still better than going to bed hungry. That was university life for me. Pride was a luxury I couldn't afford. In my second year, I saw a poster about a national innovation competition. Prize, 100,000 Nigerian nairas. The theme, solve a rural problem. I stayed up all night sketching a pump kernel cracking machine. Most people submitted PowerPoint slides. I submitted a full working model built from scrap metal and bicycle parts. At the final presentation, I was the only student who brought a machine. I won. The applause was loud, but my mind was louder. 100,000 Nigerian nairas. I sent 70,000 Nigerian nairas to my mother. She called me crying, unable to speak. When she finally did, she whispered, "You're already changing our story." My mother's faith was deeper than any sermon I'd ever heard. Every morning, before she left to hawk roasted corn, she knelt on the bare floor and prayed aloud. "God, preserve my son. Let his hands never beg. Let his name never be forgotten." She said that prayer so often, I began to believe it carried weight. When I faced academic pressure, I whispered it to myself. When I almost gave up, I remembered her knees, calloused and worn from years of prayers. Those prayers built bridges where no roads existed. Graduation came. I had a first-class degree. People clapped. Lecturers shook my hand. But the world outside didn't care. For months, I searched for a job. Applied to 87 companies. No callbacks. I returned home. Back to the same mud house. The same leaky roof. The same place where dreams had once been born. It felt like failure. But my mother welcomed me with pounded yam and soup made from dry fish. She hugged me and said, "You are not starting over. You are starting from experience." Those words lit a match in me. I started fixing things in the village, broken fans, radios, lamps. Then I fixed someone's generator, and word spread. Soon, I was building water pumps, irrigation systems, even welding machines. I printed flyers. Walked from town to town. Did free work just to build trust. Months turned into a year. I registered a business name. Chisholm Engineering Services. I hired 2 boys. Then 5. Then I met a client who wanted a cassava processing machine. I built it from scratch. Delivered it on time. He paid me 600,000 Nigerian nairas. That night, I looked at my bank app and cried. Then I sent half to my mother. I started building the house in secret. I bought land 3 kilometers from our village. Designed the plan myself, 4 bedrooms, a parlor, kitchen, 2 toilets. Nothing too grand, but solid. Every bag of cement felt like an answered prayer. Every block laid felt like healing. My mother knew nothing. She kept praying. Kept cooking. Kept believing. And I kept building. It took a year and 3 months. I furnished it modestly, with chairs, fan, TV, even a gas cooker. Then I framed her wrapper, the same one she sold to pay my fees, and placed it in the living room. On her 60th birthday, I asked her to wear her finest. I drove her to the new house. She thought we were visiting someone. When we arrived, I handed her the key. She looked confused. What is this? I smiled. Open it, Mama. She opened the door. Saw the tiled floor. The curtains. The photo of me in graduation gown. The framed wrapper. She gasped. Whose house is this? I held her hand. Yours. She dropped to her knees. Tears poured down her cheeks. I told God, she whispered, that you would not bring shame. And now, I live in glory. We held a small ceremony. Nothing extravagant. But the whole village came. Pastors prayed. Neighbors danced. The woman who once mocked my mother gave her a bag of rice. They called her Mama Engineer. They took selfies with her. She wore lace and gold earrings. And when she stepped into her bedroom, she said, now I can sleep without buckets catching rain. I said, now I can breathe. Today, I run a factory that employs over 70 people. We manufacture agro-processing machines used in 5 West African countries. When they ask me the secret, I say one word, Mama. She never had much. But she gave me everything. And now, every 1st of May, on her birthday, I bring her flowers. We sit in her parlor, drink malt, and eat jollof rice. She looks around and says, I never believed I'd live like this. And I say, it started with a wrapper. Hope you enjoyed the story. Please subscribe to my channel, like and comment what you think of this story.